Right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Culture First Pune's second event, and this is called "How Can Future Workplaces Support Entrepreneurial Tendencies of Gen Z?" And before we start, I'll like to go through the five core principles of the Culture First community. The first one is foster belonging and acceptance. We'll accept everyone as a whole uh, of what they are. The second one is be willing to reflect and grow. Even though we accept everyone as who they are, but we expect people to join these discussions with an open mind, to probably have their beliefs questioned and maybe to reflect on them. And the third thing is have the courage to be vulnerable. We expect everyone to bring their authentic selves because this is a safe space where you can just be yourself. The last not the last The second last thing is putting learning into action. We want to make a change, all of us, right? That's why we are here on a working day, spending this wonderful hour with each other and learning from each other's experiences. So we want everyone hearing us and all of us, including speakers, to take some notes from what we discussed today and probably try to implement and come back with how it worked out. And the last point is connection inside, business outside. So when we are part of a community, uh, it is very normal that some of us will probably connect in a business sense also, right? Maybe Gopal wants to hire Kartikey or Shonal for their organization or something like that, right? But we cannot probably forbid that, right? That is part of the community. But the thing is that for this 1 hour, our focus would be on the core principles or the core message which we are trying to deliver here through this debate. And business can happen outside where you meet each other, because we are creating new connections as well, right? So yeah, so this is about core principles. And now let's go to introductions. I'll start with Shonal.
Sorry, I'm just back.
Yes, so thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here with this wonderful panel coming from all walks of life. I thought that being the topic, it would be just young entrepreneurs like me and Kartike, but we have professionals and experienced professionals over here. So that makes me a bit icky, but I think I'll be fine. I'll try to be fine, since I've been working with some experienced professionals myself. First of all, yes, I would like to thank Deepak sir and culture, the Culture First chapter for Pune, and all the such an amazing idea that to bring together all the leaders and brimming leaders of the domains to discuss topics that are important and are the need of the hour. And I'm Shonal. I am a final year economics honors student at the University of Delhi, and I am a researcher. I'm a published author, and I'm a social entrepreneur, and I'm the founder of Demystified Initiative. So, the premise of Demystified Initiative is that the COVID-19 pandemic had affected the vulnerable communities, especially women, children, especially able more and more disproportionately than any other communities. And as post-COVID rebuilding is being talked about, many countries, developed countries, have already taken measures for the post-COVID rebuilding process, the policies. Developing nations are still in the way, and so I believe that it is a need of the hour, and the focus needs to be on these specific groups of people, these communities. And so what we propose at Demystified is to support and collaborate with the various stakeholders to foster a value driven policy making and awareness campaign generation for the financial support of non-profits which support these communities and any other stellar organizations that are vital to expediting this transformation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shonal. Gopal.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So, firstly, thank you for the invite. Came through a common friend of ours, Deepak. So, thank you for reaching out. I have made a very interesting transition to doing something very different, which is what brought me to IMA. But prior to that, I was within the talent space. So, I was leading a program for EY, which was future of work driven, called Gig Now. And I've been in the talent slash HR roles for almost about 18 years before I moved into IMA to do something totally different of setting up a school for public policy. Um, it's going to be an interesting journey and a lot more enriching as well, which is something that uh, we'll have to wait and watch unfolding. But one of the reasons why this move made a lot more sense is the last 2 years prior to my move to IMA was all about working for or working for designing a program that suits the younger generation or future of work specifically. What more a better place to be than actually being with the future generation which is going to come out of these institutions, and trying to be able to listen to them in terms of what their needs are. I always believe that the future of anything for that matter, be it work, be it um, uh, entertainment, be it food habits, or for that matter, is all going to be heavily driven by a very simple, empathetic understanding of how is the consumer going to behave in the future. And we all need to wear that consumerism hat, about, okay, how do we shop today that is different than how we used to shop 10 years ago? How do we consume entertainment today that is different than how it used to be 10 years ago? And I think there are a lot of themes that are emerging that is worth um, researching a little bit more to be able to understand how things could potentially pan out in the next 10 years or even beyond. I'm sure a lot of things will come out today during the discussion. Happy to share a few notes on that I have seen happen, but of course here to learn through some of the perspectives that Shonal and Kartikey are able to give as well. Thank you.
You, Gopal. Ujala.
Thank you, Deepak. First of all, thank you for giving this opportunity for me to share this panel with these amazing young entrepreneurs and a dignitary like that of Gopal. I have around 15 years of experience in the entire talent life cycle, starting from attracting the talent, integrating, engaging, and developing them to becoming the future leaders within an organization. Currently, I work for a healthcare product company called HealthEdge, where we are focused on driving healthcare innovation with next generation technology and solutions. Apart from work, I am very passionate about girl-child education and women empowerment at the workplace, and these causes have always been very close to my heart. Very glad to be a part of this panel, and I look forward to having a very constructive dialogue with all of you all today.
Kartikey.
Just let me know I'm audible or not.
Yes.
Great. So I am very, very small in terms of work that these people, amazing folks, have done. So like right now, I'm a founder of my own local tech community, you can say devs2com. And I'm also organizer about 10 plus community. And the impact that what I created is like that. I created the community culture in a very small town of Chhattisgarh. And just comparing when talking about community culture in Chhattisgarh, my town is the only community you can say that brings the culture specifically. And talking about specifically tech, I am most on the community management. I thought community is a future of everything in terms of hiring to everything. Talking about, because I am from tech genre, Deepak very well known me because I and Deepak met on a conference specifically, and Deepak is always a mentor for me on that end. and mentoring specifically on the speakers, so that what we are connected or talking about. So my community is mainly focused on the diversity, inclusion, and provide free resources to the student that are not able to get through maybe that the whole edtech startup that is working on it. But my goal is to not shut down them startup, but I'm focusing more on to provide the resources over them so that they can get access to the opportunities and networking to you can say throughout the globally. So that's what I am mission over it. So yeah, thanks Deepak again for giving me this opportunity to share my insight with some wonderful panelists. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here, Kartikey. Okay, so about me, I'm a quality engineering manager in Red Hat, working in the IT for last around 15 years, and also the uh, chapter lead for Culture First Pune and Ministry of Testing Pune, both communities. All right, so I think we should get started now and start talking about Gen Z. So the first question that I have is about the learning and development of Gen Z, right? So I see a lot of young Gen Z members having millions of YouTube subscribers and just teaching programming, data structure, and algorithms and all of that, right? And it is picking up pace in India at um, unmatchable speed, right? So there are a lot of them, and it has come to the point where you know a company through their influencer, which is just maybe at 20 to 22 years old. What does it tell us about Gen Z's knowledge consumption practice, right? So I read a research where they told that Gen Z thinks that their colleges and formal education has done them no good. They don't believe that it was sufficient, and they trust their peers for better education. And then we did a survey last month, and the results were again very consistent with what I read in the research. 20% of the respondents said yes, YouTube is their number one choice for learning, and especially from peers. And 20% said that open source contribution and community work is their uh, preferable mode of learning and development. So what do you say about that? Let's start with Gopal. Gopal, what do you make of it?
Interesting. And I have personally also seen the spike of content consumption as such. Now there are two or three reasons why this is happening. Let's all understand the reasons why this is happening first, than actually focusing on what's happening. Right. One of the things that changed in the last 5 years is easy access to internet,
Mhm.
which was not the case in the past. And today, with Geo and others to the likes of it, being able to provide wonderful internet, high-speed internet connections, very easy to shoot anything, post anything anywhere. The uh, the advent of technology and the IoT, that has really taken us all by pleasant surprise in the last 8 to 10 years, has also made it possible and really easy for anyone to probably even sit and develop a app, um, produce content, and deliver it, right? The third one is today even this rural most village or town in India is connected by high speed broadband connections. Now, the what we saw in the last 18 months was opportunity for us, all of us, to sit down and reflect upon, okay, one, what just happened with COVID and the lockdown, and two, it also gave us a, a time to say, okay, what can we do of this time? So first few months was all about learning to do home chores for a lot of us, including everyone at wherever they are. Then the next one was, okay, let's do some skilling. So they did some skilling activities wherever it was available. Sheer I mean, look at what's happening in Amazon Prime or Netflix today. The consumption of content through the platforms like these are also an indication of the fact that we need some kind of entertainment. Now, nobody's debating that. And in a country like India, where you are able to, and the last one I missed that. The last one that's happening is, no matter what has happened in the last 18 months, the upgradation to technology never stopped. So be it availability of good quality camera phones, or even the lights, the ring lights, LED lights that no one had at homes. Now everyone has it because they are all doing webinars, either speaking or attending them. And the fact that except May, June last year, uh, you have access to upgrade your technology very easily. So today, a person sitting anywhere can produce content and post it on YouTube and get wonderful subscription based on growth hacking principles that they're all now very well aware of how it needs to be done. And that also means that content can be easily created, posted. By the time someone really looks at what the content is, the you either miss the entire reason why you're watching that content, or you probably even um, watch it but may not be full. So last year alone, I did about 58 webinars for my organization. The engagement of those 58 webinars, each one of it probably was attended by 150 people. But how many actually paid attention to it? No one knows. There's no research that's been done. My son is studying from home for the last 18 months now. And it's a task for them to really focus, concentrate on what's being taught, and forget about the whole aspect of how they get evaluated, right? So if you really look at the education in a format of just listening to the content, probably yes, you can see all growth numbers, but they're only talking about subscriptions, comments, likes, and so on, and not really about whether you are able to retain the content or not. Now you can debate to say that whether do I really need to retain the content, because at the end of the day, everything is changing any which ways. But I'm talking about a scenario where you are teaching some fundamental concepts to a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old, and if they don't know how to say ABC, forget how they're going to learn in the future about understanding a language, understanding a problem, solving the problem, and the emotional aspect of it, the touch and feel factor of it, not being able to be with people. And last 2 years of lack of being connected with people, of course, has put a huge dent in terms of how people interact. Now people prefer WhatsApping versus even picking up the phone and talking, uh, versus couple of years ago we would rather want to go and meet people in public places or have lunch with them or dinner with them. So coming back to the question that you asked, is the edtech or the revolution that we are seeing in terms of consuming knowledge through open source platforms the new? Probably, yeah. I mean, that's going to complement and but not replace, because what you need is formal setup, ability for people to come together, to have sessions where you are ideating. Now, I can make a statement. You may have 5 people on this call, and there are 9 attendees. Each one of them may have a point of view. In a YouTube consumption model, the point of view is never going to be discussed because, okay, you may put a point of view on your chat. I may not even read it probably. But if it's a physical space, you can say, no, 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 Deepak, I don't agree with you, you know, and you have an opportunity to counter it. And that's how learning happens, because it's all about how we are able to bring multiple people together to discuss a point of view, learn through it, and learn different perspectives. And if this is not something that we are able to do, then I would say the generation trying to learn through newer concepts is going to be at a huge disadvantage, because it's not just about virtually being connected. At the end of the day, we are all human beings and social animals, and we need the physical presence of people around us to be able to even tell us that yes, I agree with you or I disagree with you, and move on from that. So I would say the future of education is going to be hybrid, wherein you have classroom sessions, you have the rigor, the ability to do research, discuss, debate, and yes, complement that with what's readily available through YouTubes and Facebooks and whatever you may want to call of the world.
Thank you, Gopal. That was interesting point. So talking about disagreements, Kartikey or Shonal, do you disagree with Gopal's point that it's not going to replace the actual physical learning, the
Uh,
YouTube or the modern over the internet ed tech? It's not
I
going to
will
replace.
say I created just a, you can say, a keyword for that, because I talk about this more on a diverse area. Modern Gurukul system that we have in our historical time, maybe we can bring out, and community is the place for that. It can be possible. Hybrid thing can be possible, I must say, on that end. But again, that what we are lefting, even though when we're talking about Indian educational system, we didn't talk about like specifically what is the concept behind that particular thing. We are just to like mug up that thing. That what I experience in my engineering till now. Right now I'm in a final year, and that what I just assume that what actually doing. But again, when we're talking about open source tools, these are the great resources that we have find anywhere. Many students, not student, also professionals has access to internet. But again, it's just a point of that particular person, that those resource that used by that particular person. It can be 5 year child, it can be 50-year old man. So again, the consumption depends on the, like when we're talking about there is a like a quote again in Hindi is like that कि अगर तुम 5 लोग से घिरे रहोगे तो हमारा mindset वैसा हो जाएगा. Cool. So again, the content that you are consuming over it depends on you. If you consume the like a good content, maybe the podcast, like specifically talking about the tech industry, or maybe on this the spirituality, maybe, and a diverse kind of podcast is there. But again, the content that you are consuming is the main key role to you can say to your about your mindset specifically. So again, the Gurukul system, that what I'm thinking of, it can be modern community based, you can say. That's what my team is also working on. We are working on a project curator. We content is everywhere, but how to curate that content in a proper manner. It can be when you're talking about data science algorithm, Deepak. So we know as a computer science students, like when we're talking about for graph concept, so we only go for that particular channel for graph for another topic, but we didn't have a curated form of that particular whole, you can say, chapter, or you can say a whole branch, you can say. Computer science, didn't have a curated thing. So what modern Gurukul system tells us about, we can curate everything in a proper manner. That's what our history teaches about. Again, it's just my point of view. It can change person to person again, but it's just my point of view, that what I have to share. Yeah.
I agree with both Gopal and Kartike, all their points, and I actually got to learn so much more. And Kartike, well, kudos on transforming the face of technology like this, and at such a young age, I must say. And coming back to the question, like back to the YouTube part, that how Gen Z is very much predominant over YouTube and Instagram and all these. Now the thing being that, lately the concept of mental health and expressing yourself and leadership qualities have been discussed, have been profound in this sphere. And for the past 18 months, Gen Z, and especially who are in college and high school, and who have just entered the workplace, they have been able to do much more due to the facilitated technology. And apart from just academics, and now they are able to multitask. Yes, I mean, there are issues in education system, sure. The attention span has gone way less. Even like today, I'll just give an example. I was having a lecture and I had to go and get some water, and meanwhile my teacher was calling me, and I missed my call, and I had to at the end tell, ma'am, I just went to get water and I have some questions. But yes, that the flow had broken. I mean, I could actually go, and the teacher had no idea that I had went. And this is very common in every academic sphere now. And while the academics have suffered, the entire COVID era and the digital sphere provided to the Gen Z has taught us so much. Like there are both pros and cons, but I am able to do this present here. I'm able to open my own organization based on this premise, and I think that is there are both pros and cons to this. There are no agreements or disagreements. Vulnerable communities have suffered who do not have access to technology such as us, like how we are able to communicate, and all our attendees who have joined have the privilege of having internet connection, having the means to access and listen to us, but not all communities did. And especially children who had just started the school in government schools, and they don't have the means to uh, put something like this. I mean, geo and all these networks have been facilitating, but what about the remote regions? Government had been able, I mean, we have seen it all on the news that the education has been suffering, and especially for those who have just entered the education arena. I mean, we by the time the COVID had happened, I was in my first year, and I was privileged that I had just entered college. I had experienced some things, and then we went on. But think of the students who had just begun their preschool, or who had just begun their middle school, high school, college experience, all that had suffered. And yes, YouTube, I wouldn't say that it ever replaces the thing of human touch, and speaking to my professor, speaking to my teacher face to face. It just acts as a supplement. We have been using it as a supplement to our already present study material. We have been using YouTube, and yes, YouTube has always been a savior, especially for college students like us. But then, yes, it never replaces. It has always been a supplement, but now it has become the only mode. It has become the savior, and that is why so much of the Gen Z has been appearing, and they have been so much more confident, as this is the only means present now. Instagram, YouTube, they're able to more express themselves, and with basic technologies like phone or the ring light, it barely costs 600 to 2000 rupees. It is not a lot for privileged ones like us. But then yes, there are both pros and cons. There has been the division, the digital divide between the poor and the upper strata of the population. So yeah, that is all.
Thank you, Shona. Ujala, what do you think? So there was before you start, there was another article in New York Times recently where they said that Gen Z would kill the email. They don't like the response, the delay anxiety that comes with an email. They want their responses quick, like in WhatsApp or a Telegram.
Right. So, see, I love the views from all Gopal, Shonal, and Kartikey, and I just want to fold them all into the original, agenda of this meeting, that whether our organizations are prepared to welcome the Generation Z to our companies. Are we prepped? Do we have to do something more? Are our processes and policies enough, or we need to evolve these policies even more? So we all know they have a great desire to learn all the time, and I think it's a very great opportunity for organizations to capitalize on this spirit by focusing on their personal development and ensuring that their career aspirations are met. Like Gopal mentioned, this generation obviously will not remember a time without internet or social media, and they are imbibing information faster than any other previous organization, right? So while they love to learn, it's not easy for us to engage them with the what you call the traditional learning and training development programs that the organizations have right now. Unless those programs become more flexible, they become more collaborative and give them an ability to practice and prove what they have learned, right? So we as organizations and HR professionals need to be prepared for these tech savvy employees and their associated so-called, what Shonal mentioned, right? Short attention spans. So they want access of everything on their fingertips wherever they are. So I think from the organization and from the HR standpoint, I would like to say that making our training materials and the learning management systems that we have, the content management system that we have, our video libraries, and all digital learning tools that the organizations use right now, it has to be easily accessible from the smartphones, and that will definitely catch their attention. Um, they expect more hands-on learning, I believe, via interactive apps, right? So I feel if we move towards a direction like that, where organizations are more focused to move to a culture of interactive learning, which feeds to their desire of continuous learning and development, I feel a lot of organizations are already moving towards that. And I think it's going to be a good step for organizations to basically evolve their processes accordingly to welcome these youngsters.
Yep. Thank you, Ujala. Okay, moving on to our second point. So we have noticed that Gen Z uh, is right up there in terms of activism. You think about Malala, you think about Greta Thunberg or Marley Davis, right? There are a lot of uh, young activists all around the world, and they are making news for good reasons. So based on that, my question is. Do you think that Gen Z cares a lot about how their uh, how the organizations in which they want to go should be uh, should be caring about the greater good of the society, not just be there to, let's say, be the number one consumer electronic company or the number one SaaS service provider, right? See, the numbers won't work with Gen Z. That is what the research says. So your organization needs to be doing something for the greater good. Can be diversity, can be sustainability, can be any other social cause, but there has to be a dimension of social good in an organization for Gen Z to take note of that organization, and they are even willing to, according to that survey that we did, 60%, 68% of the Gen Z people think that it is it is their top choice uh, while thinking about an organization to join, uh, whether that organization has some greater good in their vision statement or mission statement. What do you think about that? Let's start with Ujala first.
So we know that this generation, Deepak, is very ambitious. They are hardworking and traditional, but they favor what you call the liberal views on race, gender, etc. That means diversity and inclusion must be a real focus for organizations. Even CSR activities, for that matter, they must be taken very seriously. For example, if we look at Kartikey and Shonal, their initiatives are also focused on social responsibilities. They are
Right.
also technologically empowered. So, as an organization, we need to take a step forward and evolve our strategies or develop new strategies to gain this generation's loyalty, first of all. They, like you said, they want to work for a socially or environmentally responsible organization, and they want work that has some meaning and purpose beyond just getting paid their salaries at the end of the month. So, to win the hearts of this generation and to entice and enthuse them to join a certain organization, companies and employers will need to highlight their efforts to be good global citizens as well.
Right.
So our efforts in being socially responsible, generations, say, like you mentioned, think climate change, sustainability, equality, inclusion. Companies must lay a lot of focus to demonstrate their commitment towards these areas, and that is something that would, enthuse these young folks to, decide which company they want to join. Yeah.
Shonal, what do you think?
And so I think I truly believe in what you just said. And since I belong to the Gen Z as well, I can actually resonate with what you're saying. But, ma'am, I feel that uh, all generations have been hardworking, but the connection between, the world connection, that you can connect with someone over in Africa, you can connect with someone over in America, that is more facilitated now. And they're able to, they are able to be more expressive about what they what they should do. And now that they come to know that they could multitask, they could do more than just have a job, and also be responsible citizen to their country, to the world. I think that has been the connectivity, and the issue about, everyone has been concerned about vulnerable communities for millennia. From the time started, there were always gaps, and some were poor, some were rich, and everyone was concerned. Some of the rich were concerned by the poor, anything like that. These issues have been of concern always, but now that we are technologically advanced, we have more resources. uh, we can think beyond just a paycheck. We can think beyond, and we can try and advocate for the vulnerable communities. So I think that is where the connectivity, the ability to feel what they feel has been resonated and has been enhanced in our generation, and they are wanting to do more than that. And as many as I know, more and more students, especially students, have been resonated with this. I mean, I know a group of students who are volunteers for my organization. They are just in sixth grade, fifth grade, and what and they are doing beyond their academics. They have a test tomorrow, and they would still, be present in meetings, and give their opinions, because they know that there is something more than just academics, and something more that they want to do. And now the focus has, shifted from profit to equity. From people are not just focused on getting money and, being rich, and the mindset change in, we all can be, we can all prosper together when we are all in it, and not just certain communities and certain sections of the society would grow, and some certain sections, the gap between the two. So I think the part where inclusivity and diversity, especially in organizations and corporates, multinational corporates, they're trying to incorporate these, because now they understand that if you have to reach at the top or you have to grow, you need to include everyone. And since Gen Z is slowly and rapidly, taking places for these managerial positions, and some are even CEOs of their own companies, they understand this quality, that if you want to reach to the top, or if you want to really really grow and sustain the growth, you need to include everyone in the journey. You cannot just do it alone. You cannot just sit at the top, or you cannot just have the paycheck in your hand. No, it has to be done by everyone. And so they have the aspects regarding uh, some kind of social entrepreneurial spirit, or organization they want to support, voluntary activities. So yeah, that is what I think is happening now.
Thank you, Shonal. So I'll add one more point. So traditionally, what has happened is the Eastern countries have been very status driven. We respect status and hierarchies. The Western world used to do it, but before us, they became more egalitarian, right? They respect their own free will more than the patriarchy or the status of the society. So, do you think that internet has a role to play in, because we are on Facebook with everyone else. The young generation is on TikTok and YouTube, and like everyone else, does internet play a role there? That is first part of the question. The second part of the question is recently there was this an anti-abortion law in the state of Texas, and then Salesforce wrote a Slack message to their employees that telling them we'll help you relocate out of Texas if you are not able to get good reproductive health access in Texas due to that law, right? So the thing is that nowadays companies cannot be that politically neutral or policy wise, social policy wise neutral companies, right? So every company, I think, even in India, should clearly tell us that what their stand is on LGBTQ or any other social cause, right? So Gopal, what do you think of these two questions on political neutrality of organizations and role of internet in Eastern Gen Z becoming more egalitarian like their Western counterparts?
Okay, so culture of a country plays a huge role.
Hmm.
Um, and this is an answer to both the questions that you asked. Um, if you really look at how we behave as a nation, um, And when you look at it from a perspective of taking a pan India view and a regional view, um, talk about topics like election, talk about topics like rights, talk about topics like freedom of speech and all of that. Each individual, each uh, citizen, depending on where they are, have a different response to it. The second aspect to it that is worth really looking into is, if there is a particular event that has happened, um, farmer strike that we have all saw. I think everyone had a point of view about it. How many of us actually did something about it? Right. For various reasons, we may either do or not do. Again, the choice is the individual's. But I think culturally we have been, and it may be a controversial point that I'm making, but at the end of the day, the reality is that events keep happening, but we keep moving on. And we keep moving on for the reasons which are either driven by, um, okay, like I'm a Mumbaiker by birth, and I've seen Mumbai getting back on its feet like as if nothing happened yesterday, even after 26/11. Uh, and we talk about Mumbai spirit and all of that, or chalta hai attitude that we can talk about. But the whole aspect is we at times become indifferent to the realities around us. Now that may be something that is by design. We haven't really spoken much about it. We haven't really done much about it. We have left all of these aspects to individuals' choice, and it even reflects in our electoral system, where there is a voting day, people pick up their bags and go for a short outing instead of going for voting. Now, who are these people who are working in organizations? It is us, right? It is people like you and me. We can't be different outside work and be different people inside work, right? So the larger question that we need to reflect upon is, are we the same people that we're talking about and really expecting idealistic outcomes out of us? It's great to expect a lot of things and not practice it. That's a problem, right? So uh, Texas or whatever it is, I think by default the Western world is a lot more known for taking a stand about a particular topic, and like, for example, Twitter banning Trump, or Twitter taking specific stands on certain other political personalities, or even non-political personalities, is something that is the ethos of the organization that it is all about. And also, to a great extent, how America really respects freedom and is open about it. I don't think we are, as a society, as open about many things today.
Mm,
I mean, even after the required legislations were being passed, we still don't talk about LGBTQ as openly as we should be.
mm,
We still don't talk about sex education as much as we should be, which is what is causing more number of rapes, unfortunately. Now, having said that, I think, I mean, these are issues that even if someone were to create a YouTube video, I don't know how many of us will watch it as well. So it's also depending on, okay, what content do we want to subscribe to and want to listen to and what want to engage with and do something about it. Unfortunately, that is a minority population. And unless and until you're not impacted by a situation personally, I don't think people do react. I mean, what we saw in COVID, right, and what we are seeing during COVID as well, you wearing a mask in a specific manner is a behavior that is reflective of whether you were impacted or someone in your family was impacted or not. If someone was impacted, they won't even come out of the house, right? Fearing that, okay, it may happen to me again. So there is a lot of neurological and behavioral and cognitive aspects to this that we really need to look at before even we get to whether the organizations will do something or not, whether taking stands or not. It's not in us. I mean, we have never been a nation where we have taken stand on a particular topic, uh, which is highly polarized. We have predominantly remained a majoritarian, where we will sway towards what is majority, and which is what is reflective even in the way we are getting people onto the respective states and the central governments. Now, that's the aspect that we all need to reflect upon and see if we would ever take that. And the question is back to all of us: would we take a stand on some of these matters? I would really caution on whether it is something that I have complete knowledge about. And unfortunately, we may not have access to the complete knowledge about a particular topic,
Mm.
like a farm bill, for example, right? So research more, understand how it impacts the individual, and then take a stand. For all you know, what's relevant for people in the West is not relevant for people like us in India. We may have our own issues that we never talk about as well. Pick up those and talk about it, right? That's the response to your first question. The second question's on the internet. Absolutely. I mean, that's the now goes back to a story, and this will be a very interesting one for some of you as well. Like, I remember 2005. I'm a guy who has never had I mean, we studied computers just as a subject in school, which is in 8th, ninth, and 10th. And then I did my graduation. And after graduation, also, I had to fight with my parents to tell them that I need a computer. And they would say, "Why do you need a computer?" They would not just relate to it. And I got a desktop in 2005, right? Or 2004, rather. Now, after that fight as well, they never still relate to. And my mom's forever vision and agenda and aspiration in her life is, I want to know, I want to learn how computers work. And we have moved to mobile now, right? So there is a generation that has leapfrogged from not knowing anything about computing to directly watching YouTube videos and sending WhatsApp messages on your phone, right? That's a different form. um, Now, this is a generation, and going forward as well, we are a lot more connected on social media as a region. So India, Philippines, and any other, than people in the West actually. Which is why if you see most of the content on Facebook, Instagram, most of the marketing on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp for that matter, is centered on India, because they get access to a lot of data that is available by virtue of all of us being on the platform. I've spoken to so many colleagues of mine, of by virtue of being associated with large multinational organizations, where they said, "What's Facebook? We don't even have an account in there." Right? I mean, the sheer size of our nation allows us to be more interactive on platforms like these, which is why I may have a 2000 connection on Facebook, of which I may end up knowing only about 250 people personally, versus someone in the West who may have a totally different way of talking, whereas someone else in Philippines who say their primary mode of communication is Facebook Messenger, not WhatsApp.
Mhm.
Right? So that's how things are different. And we may be, as a region, a lot more advanced in social media usage than the West.
Makes sense. Yes. A quick time check. We are at 6:58, 2 minutes to go, and I'll request attendees, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. For you can name the speaker if you have a question for any particular speaker. Okay. In the meantime, talking about red flags. So, in our survey for Gen Z, the number one red flag which they see before joining an organization is the young people of that organization not having a voice, right? And that also talks about their egalitarian culture. And so when I think about, let's say, Microsoft India, I don't know their who is the head of Microsoft India, but I know couple of software developers who have around 60,000 followers on LinkedIn each, right? So there are around people in early 20s from Microsoft who are very popular, and that gives me an impression that so Microsoft respects young people having voice instead of probably people with designation having voice. for the company, right? So my question to Ujala you is, do you think that this is something which a lot of companies are missing? Their primary voices are their probably directors and site heads and everyone.
I disagree. For the kind of companies that I have worked for, and not very large companies in the recent past, but mid-sized companies, I have never seen the new joiners or the freshers or the interns being treated as rookies. They have a voice, and we keep iterating and reiterating in all the forums that everybody has a voice, and they can, whatever ideas they have, anything which they want to do, when it comes to innovation or developing something new, or they have something creative to talk about, that will be acknowledged and it will also be actioned upon, right? So I know there were times when these things were not taken as a priority, but right now the culture has shifted. It is shifting, the mindset is shifting, and all the new youngsters actually understand and know that they have a voice, and they can come forward with any ideas or anything. They can be as creative as they can be, because the culture that the companies are currently working on or sustaining right now, it gives an opportunity to each and everyone, especially our youngsters. Yes.
Okay, Kartikeya, last question for you. So you heard Ujala about that their company and lot of other companies. She knows that they give voice to young people, but whatever these companies do stays inside these companies, right? For someone who has an outsider view of that company, right? So my question to you is, let's say there are two companies which you want to join, and you are in a sort of dilemma, and there is this one company who has a very famous influencer CEO who keeps spreading wisdom all over internet, and then there is another company similar sized, similar offerings to you as a prospective candidate, but the other company there are multiple young people, software engineers and maybe interns from that company who are very vocal on the internet about what they do in that company, about general things, right? So do you think as a Gen Z person you relate more to the company whose younger people are more influential? They are the shepherds of what that company is doing, instead of their CEO or their directors being the shepherds of what their company is doing.
At the end of the day, when I am choosing a company, I firstly see the culture. Again, my like I have done one thing, like I just got into an internship in company. I just left in one day because I didn't like the culture. That's what the scene is. One day. And even it's that startup or company is doing great in that orange, but again I didn't like the job culture. So again, when we're talking about Gen Z, or even though there are some question about over the openness that what we have done, internet give access to many things. And maybe I am wrong on that end, but we are very national, specifically talking about the patriotism. When we're talking about Elon Musk, that is a standard of America. Like, why shouldn't our country we make out of it? That's what I thought of. I can be wrong in terms of, but as a Gen Z point of view, it's like that I can become an next Elon Musk. Why shouldn't I impacted my country should be in the top in the world? Why are we talking about geopolitics? So why in terms of every country, why my country is not in the top? Why we cannot capture like China is doing? So I am very on that end. Patriotic, when talking about patriotism, Akhanda Bharat, that's what my concept out of it. So that's the scene that what I'm feeling right now. It's like that if I'm going into any company, or if I'm starting my own company also, my whole agenda, if I'm talking about if I'm going as an employee, so I must be like the culture very good. They need what the insights that I'm sharing and what the idea that I'm putting on the table, they should be it's acceptable. Or even if not acceptable, just give me a criteria, like you can say feedback, or you can say, look, yeah, you have done this, yeah, it's a great idea, but you have missing out something, so can we, if you work on that, so I can work on it. Again, it's just like a that. And if I'm a founder of a company, I'm starting a startup out of it, so again, it's just my agenda. Elon Musk doing for the social people, specifically socializing. uh, it makes Tesla. It's not because he have to sell the car. He made the Tesla because of to reduce the, you can say, the sustainability kind of in the energy. Or why he created SpaceX, because he created SpaceX because NASA is not doing correct job. Actually, the point of view on that only. So when we are coming as a social entrepreneur, if I like a very entrepreneurship skill that what we are having, Shonal, and that what we are working on, it's not like that we are just working for making money is a, like a practicality thing. We have to make money again. That's one of the practicality thing that we want. But again, just show can if I die in like in a 10 years, suppose I am dying in 10 years, so what are the impact that I'm bringing out of it? So that's the that's the whole concept. I can be wrong, again I'm saying from my experience that what I experienced, because I'm again talking about the podcasting, because now the podcasting that in India content creators have a like another edge in terms of YouTubing. I am very following of Beer Biceps, that person is talking about sex education also. It's talking about different genres, spirituality also. So again, it just my point of view again. If I'm talking about job or again anything, going into that particular mind is again the safe place that I got to share my insights. And again, inclusiveness, again on that point, when you're talking about inclusiveness, it's not like diversity is like every people are coming over there, but inclusiveness to like give an opportunity to everyone to put on the table the thoughts that he or she or any transgender can putting on it. So yeah, that's my point over it.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me check if we have any questions. No, not yet. Okay, then let's sum up. So I'll ask each one of you, at least tell me one point. So we know what Gen Z wants. We have industry representatives here, right? So tell me one point to make the future workplace uh, uh, good for Gen Z. We know Gen Z is getting into workplace, right? Inevitably, right? They have to get into workplace. Some of them are already there, and a big chunk of Gen Z would get into workplace in next 2 to 5 to 10 years, right? So, what is that one thing you want workplaces to do? Let's start with Shonal.
Since as Kartikey, as ma'am pointed out, everyone pointed out that inclusivity, I mean, diversity is there, but you're inclusive of their thoughts, their ideas. What I believe is that when Gen Z enters the workforce, they are loaded with the kind of experience that the millennials or someone before them might have got it in say 2 to 5 years. Because for example, me, I've been conducting leaders summit, so I have the leadership qualities, I would have the managerial kind of qualities. So I would be I should say I would have that advantage over anyone who has just got out of college and done nothing, and they have been sitting back looking for a job. But then as the social entrepreneurial tendencies of Gen Z, they have the potential to do much more than just what they're asked for. I mean,
Mhm.
if you're just asking a software engineer such as Kartikey, if you just ask him for to do this kind of job, but then he can provide so much more because he has the experience that a 15 maybe no offenses, but a 5 to 10 year and more experienced person might have, because he has been working in those domains. He had been adding on to his experience baggage. And I think that is where companies should be inclusive, that the Gen Z can be relied on. They can be provided more than you can rely on them. You can trust them, and I think provide them more opportunities that you would provide someone with as much experience. So I feel that experience as a criteria has kind of nullified now,
Mhm.
given that the Gen Zs and the social entrepreneurs who have their own setup or are provided, they are volunteers somewhere. They have so much more to provide to these workplaces than just someone who has not imbibed these in their education back in time of their college or school or something else. So I think inclusivity, and then personally connecting with Gen Z, because Gen Z is much more vocal about what they want. They are vocal about personalizing everything, gamification, and trying to connect with peers and understanding, resonating with their feelings. So I think
Mhm.
there needs to be sustainability and there needs to be inclusivity. I think these some of these principles should be like the key uh, key facets that the companies and multinationals and corporates should actually foster in their workplace system.
Thank you, Shonal. What I hear from you is, and I like to rephrase it to uh, all the engineering managers who listen to this session later. What Shonal is trying to say is that you cannot probably ask a Gen Z person to spend a 10-year before they become a manager, right? They're already coming with that kind of management and leadership experience when they join you as an intern. So it is meritocracy over tenure, right? Right, Shonal? All right. What about you, Ujala? What is that one thing you want the workplaces to probably introduce
So
or change?
I am a big fan of Simon Sinek and his
Mhm,
principle on purpose why, uh,
mhm,
which is something I personally believe in. That hows and whats are the things that we tend to obsess over as an organization, but hows and whats are not what will help us here. We need to think why this generation would like to work for us. We need to think why would they continue to invest in an organization and work hard and contribute in a maximized manner and stay engaged. So I think all our HR strategies and organizational strategies need to be evolved in such a way by keeping these whys in mind. So as an organization, I feel we should be ready to cultivate that entrepreneurial goals at work and encourage these youngsters by fostering innovation and ownership at work. A lot of companies, I would say that they have already started to prep for this, tagging OKRs to the performance, giving aspirational goals to the employees, helping them be more creative. The labs at workplace are some of the things that many organizations are already doing. So, building on all of these and providing a more diverse, innovative, and a fulfilling career progressive culture, and of course, weaving entrepreneurial elements into the culture, that appeal to this generation. And I think some of the things that will help us set the stage for these youngsters like Shonal and Kartikey.
mhm. Thank you, Ujala. What do you think, Gopal? What is that one thing you'd like workplaces to introduce or change
So I
or
think,
probably stop?
yeah, I think Kartikeya, Shonal, and Ujala shared a great insight in terms of purpose and the importance of being open and diverse and inclusive, and all of that. In my view, I mean, I have always believed it to be this case where treat your prospective employees as well as employees as your clients, right? If you were an Apple store, the guy who comes to shop your Apple iPhone, you give him or her a red carpet treatment, and explain really well about what the features are, how much is it priced, what are the pricing models, and why, and all of that. I fail to understand why organizations don't do that to its prospective employees and look at them as, oh, this person needs the job and that's why he or she is coming to me. That high, I mean, thinking about themselves as really higher over and above the employees or prospective employees or candidates, I don't think is something that we would see that flying well with people going forward. And the reason for that is it also boils down to the kind of experience. We live in a world where 99% of people complain that we have applied to jobs and we don't get to hear what happened with my job application.
Mhm,
I mean, HR professionals know the challenges that we have about that. But the reality is the way we hire today is outdated. We need to hire very differently and very different kind of people. Not to say that by when I call different, I'm excluding a certain set of people. Absolutely not. Make it more inclusive, right? Why are you putting in barriers about the fact that you have to have this qualification to be able to apply for this job? Open it up. Let people with even a diploma come and work for your organization for the role that you want to them to do, where they are, if they are skilled, if they have the right experience, they will be able to do the work. If not, probably okay. If you really see how people have been behaving in the last 3 to 5 years, or even beyond for that matter, all the freshers who join the organization, they make a move in the first 18 months. What does this say? Organizations have to really reflect upon what experience are they giving to their people. I mean, what Karthik as well as Shonal reflected upon in terms of, don't tell them what you can't do, right? Tell them what you can do, enable that for them, and in a manner promote intrapreneurship so that they don't create an entrepreneurship aspiration if you really want to make them feel included. Because remember, I think one of the other things that we both people like Kartikey and Shonal also really need to think about is, not everyone can be entrepreneur, right?
Right.
We all need to be part of an ecosystem where we work with each other, and that requires an organizational capability to bring people together,
Mhm.
right? If all become entrepreneur, that becomes a chaotic place,
Right.
right? That's one of the reasons why organizations were created. So allow people to express themselves, allow entrepreneurship, give them a world class experience. I think all put together into one simple thing: treat them as your customers.
Mhm.
I mean, when you do that, you will never even get to the stage of what should I do for millennials, what should I not do for millennials. That debate is done.
Mhm.
Treat them as your customers, because the customer knows what he wants.
Right. Right. Excellent point, Gopal. Okay, Kartikeya, what do you think?
Yeah, so my point of view is like that. There was just an opportunity. Like if even it's that particular guy is like from 15 years old and he has a capability to do that stuff or do that task, give that and give them an opportunity.
Mhm.
That's what I can tell. And like many people thought, and many people say like engineering has no jobs. No, actually opportunities are very much, but skills are not acceptable in industry. You can say that they are not having specifically. That what I discovered. And even the people just blaming the education system, I say I don't blame education system. It's on to you why you didn't have achieved those skills. There's so much resources are open to there. And again, that's why the you can say the maybe 10 years old 12 years old specifically guys, or you can say girls are doing great because they have using internet in a proper manner. You can say we are not using proper manner, you can say, on that and stuff. And yeah, just it's just like that. Again, I can maybe predict in a 10 to 20 years maybe the modern gurukul system can be back to the India. That's what I can surely say, because people are not accepting colleges, schools right now. In maybe in 5 to 10 years, maybe it can be possible. The education system, the institution that was built in maybe by the Britishers, specifically the socially engineer that were done by Britishers for on us. Just I can say entrepreneurship, yeah, like I agree on Gopal on that. And everyone can't become an entrepreneur, but they can get a mindset of the warrior mindset, you can say, to like they can learn over it. And that's just what I just become a warrior mindset. It's not like that you have to become an entrepreneur. It can be possible you can become a designer, and just have a designer, you can do that stuff more on it. Like it can also create your public profile out of it. Like everyone see, if you want to search with designer, yeah, that's the person, at what I call that, what the mentality out of it. So we can bring on the entrepreneurship mindset, but everyone can't become an entrepreneur. That's the holy truth out of it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kartikeya. Excellent point. Okay, we have got the four takeaways from this session. One is meritocracy, as Sonal suggested, and then Ujala suggested purpose, and then Gopal said that we have to treat employees as customers, and then Kartikeya said that age is no bar. If someone has got their leadership experience doing something else which is not traditional, right? There is no place for, to be honest, there is no place for track record that we say, right? 10 years in doing management or 5 years doing architecture designs. To if somebody has done 6 months of architecture and designing in a very non-traditional way, that is also good, right? All right, with that, I think we come to close of this session, and I would like to wholeheartedly thank you all of you for giving us your time, and to our attendees also. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in the next event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.